I've made it pretty clear that being able to game on Linux is a big part of the reason why I can actually use Linux as a daily driver. I know a lot of people don't care about gaming is a waste of time. I don't care about any of that. I like the fact that Valve has done a lot of work to make gaming actually viable. Not just on the Steam Deck like back there, but also on a desktop system like my Arch. But normally, I don't talk gaming on this channel. Sometimes I bring up anti-cheat and things like that, but for the most part, we don't really touch it. But sometimes, I run into a bug that is so mind-numbingly stupid. A bug where there's zero excuse for it making its way into production. It is something that should be automatically resolved in your build pipeline. So I play a lot of a game called Marvel Rivals. This is made by NetEase. No, they didn't fire half their dev team. That is complete fake news. It's like 6 people who finished contract work in Seattle. Maybe it's 7. The dev team, they are in China. I don't usually stream the game, but oftentimes I will hang out in my friends' streams playing the game with them. So just the other day, I was hanging out with Venny and a few other people for the release of the mid-season 1 patch. In this patch, the last 2 members of the Fantastic Four were added, Thing and Human Torch. But that's not the fun part. The fun part is, very quickly, Venny and I, both playing on Linux, started noticing a problem. Every few seconds, the game would stutter. And not just a small stutter, like you might expect from maybe a frame drop, right? You go from 120 down to 15, it's gonna feel a bit weird, things are gonna it's gonna throw you off. No, I mean about maybe quarter second to half second complete freeze of the game. Initially, I wasn't sure exactly how long apart the freezes were, but it was clearly something happening consistently, completely irregardless of what was happening in the game. I could be in the menu, in a lobby, in the practice range, in a match, in a bot match, and it kept happening constantly. And I was just ready to stop playing the game that day because, you can't play with the game just freezing every couple of seconds. Maybe you can get away with, some heroes, but it's not fun to play at that point. It just feels annoying. And thankfully, this was not an isolated problem. This was not my system weird, maybe something weird with my drivers, something like that. As soon as the patch dropped and people started playing the game, you started seeing topics like this everywhere. Post 1.5 update stuttering. Game performance after update, I'm stuttering and lagging around. Game stutters since update, freezing for like half a second every 10 to 20 seconds. And these are just a couple of them. There is probably at least 20, 30, maybe 40 or 50 posts on just the Marvel Rivals subreddit about this problem. Now, don't get me wrong. The game has always had some weird performance issues and some weird connection issues, but this was clearly something different. It's one thing if you're getting frame drops and things are lagging. Yeah, in those cases, people saying, oh, just buy a better PC or get a better connection. Okay, sure, not the solution to this problem, but at least that is somewhat understandable in those cases. But clearly, this was not the case. From pre-patch and post-patch, something had happened. Some weird, consistent issue had clearly been introduced. One thing people did notice is after the update, it seemed like FSR or DLSS would go from disabled to enabled. And potentially this could be a problem. And for some people, this did mitigate other issues because the implementation is not perfect. But that's a separate issue from the one at hand. I went and did this on my system. It changed absolutely nothing. Venny did the same. Absolutely nothing. So clearly, it could be a problem, but it's not the problem at hand. Now, before we talk about the problem, let's first talk about the solution, and you might know where this is going. So the way you fix this on Linux is make a file called 2767030.py. This is a Python script file, and this number is the Marvel Rivals Steam game ID. In that file, you would put this script right here. If you know your Python, or you can read the comment, you probably know exactly what this is doing. What you do is take that file, put it into /home/ whatever your username is, .local/share/steam/ compatibilitytools.d/ the version of Proton you're using. So in my case, this would be GE-Proton 9-25 /Proton fixes /game fixes-steam. The only reason that I'm not going through this in the file manager is because the problem has actually been fixed in the game, so you don't actually need to go and do this anymore. If you did this, when you open up the game, basically that script is going to be run alongside the game being opened, and the game magically would start working. Now, before the game was patched, very shortly after this was discovered, a new version of Proton Hotfix was released that went and did this automatically for you. Now, let's just check that comment in case you didn't read it. Remove PowerShell from the wine path. So, this is why I say there is absolutely no reason for this bug to exist, and it should have been removed in the build pipeline. What people realized is there was a file that existed called PowerShell.sys, and what helped people spot this was what was happening over on the Windows side. My security is blocking an essential driver. I use a Avast antivirus, it's blocking PowerShell.sys. Went to spin up Marvel Rivals, and AVG decided no PowerShell. Once again, PowerShell.sys. In case it is unclear, when people opened up Marvel Rivals, their antivirus would freak out about PowerShell running. Now, that shouldn't happen. That's not good. So what Windows users started doing to fix the problem is they would just whitelist the file and just say, okay, just let it run. This is why Windows users have so many viruses, because people just click next in admin prompts, whitelist files with having no idea what is actually happening. If your antivirus is freaking out about a problem, don't play the game. Go do anything else and wait for the problem to be resolved. But for whatever reason, Windows Defender didn't really care about what was happening. It was only these third-party solutions, so your AVGs, Norton, McAfee, Avast, things like that. I don't really know why. I couldn't really say what's happening there, but people who weren't using those, and this is why the problem wasn't consistent on Windows, people who were not using a third-party solution, the game was fine. No issue at all. But if you had one of these, you would allow it, and then it would constantly keep triggering as something bad, and your antivirus was very confused about what was happening. So what exactly was happening? Was this malware injected into the game? Probably not. So what was happening here is there was a PowerShell script that was running that was pulling your system and CPU info. So things like your process ID, the current CPU usage, the processor time, things like that. You know, debug information. The problem is it was so beefy that every time it ran, which was on a 20-second timer, the entire game would lock up, waiting for it to finish running. And then it would go again, and again, and again, and again. So the fix on Linux was to remove PowerShell from the wine path so the script couldn't run. And it would just error out, and it would be fine. Now, the reason why the antivirus was freaking out here, again, I don't know about Windows Defender, but the reason why these third-party ones were is, yeah, it frankly does look like malware. You have a script that is running that is pulling your CPU information just constantly. Like, that's not something you typically have in a production build, unless we're talking, say, you know, a process monitor. A game should not be doing that. If it is, it's probably doing something weird. So by all accounts, this was a big print statement. This was a debug script left from the development build in the production build. Now, yes, you could go and debug things in other ways, but look, we've all debugged things using print statements. Don't pretend like you haven't. And even if you work at a big company, you're still probably going to do the same. However, your build system should be removing that file. As this problem was so big, and so many people either couldn't play the game, or couldn't play it without telling their antivirus to shut up, which, again, you shouldn't be doing, and having your game be detected as malware, not a good look. Definitely not a good look. Over on the community Discord, they announced that this is being resolved and has been resolved. Hey rivals, we've implemented a hotfix following the Season 1.5 patch release to address some issues related to lag, frame drops, and stutter. Thank you for your patience as we work to enhance your gaming experience. Ignite the battle. It is very nice to see things actually turn around quickly and problems actually be resolved. I like this game. I really enjoy it. I'm going to keep playing it. Maybe at some point it won't be fun. If it stops being fun, I stop playing it. Wow, imagine that. Just don't play video games you don't like anymore. But for now, I'm going to keep playing it. So, if you like the video, go like the video. If you play the game and you notice this problem and you weren't really sure why it was happening, let me know down below, and let me know if you found out about the fix, or if you're finding out about it here and now no longer need to do it. Yeah. If you liked the video, oh wait, I said that. If you really liked the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, Scribe, Silly Bearer Pay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and please, if you're gonna play this game, actually move forward as a tank. I'm a healer main. I don't want to deal with you being bad.